Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a little video here. Hopefully it's not going to be a great big long video. It's predominantly about setting up a wraparound screen like we have here with 3 computers, 3 projectors, using ProSim 737 as our avionics suite and Fly-ELise Immersive Diplay Pro plus Calibration Pro, the very latest one, 3.0 R1, or I think it is R1, and Wideview. Now currently, and I'll send a message off to Luciano, Luciano Napolitano, about wide traffic. So wide traffic has an issue at the moment. It's being fixed and it shouldn't be very long. So to get to the guts of it, we have a big wraparound screen, about 190 degrees. I'm going to show the setup within Fly-ELise's Calibration Pro. And again, it's the latest one as well. 3.0 R1. So we're going to go through. Now what I'm using here is 3 high-end PCs, all running GTX 1080s, and I've got 2 separate PCs in front of me here which I use for my navigation displays and all of the associated other equipment. So I'll go through now and just show you the rough setup. So here's our 3 PCs that run the graphics. Here's our big wraparound screen, which goes, as I said, about 200 degrees. There are our 3 projectors running. I'll turn them on. They're GTX 1080s. Sorry, getting me mixed up here. GT 1080s. The Optimas, very good projectors. Now I'll just turn these 3 PCs on and get the whole show started. And here I have my secondary PCs, which, as I said, I use for my NDs, navigation displays, and the PFDs, and also for my CDUs, twin CDUs from FDS. So at the moment I'm using one of my PCs that I normally use for CDUs, and I'm using it to run the 3rd version of Calibration Pro. Now Calibration Pro is the sister program to Immersive Diplay Pro, and how it operates is that you need Calibration Pro to run on the client machines. Now these of course would be the client machines, and then you need a server. So this is going to be my server. So first thing we have to do is get Calibration Pro started on all 3 of these in the client mode. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And I'll also start the server up on this computer, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so I'll try and get out of the way here. As you can see, we have our Immersive Calibration Pro 3R1. Now these are clients running on all 3 machines now, which are connected to the projectors. So you've got client 1 over there, client 2, client 3. These are all set up. So what we need to do once we've started it, we need to click within this inner window and select how we've got our projectors set up. Now my projectors are set up as in 1 projector per PC, and that is the setup we're going to go through now. So we have 1 by 1. Now obviously if we had 1 PC running all 3, it would be 3 by 1. So today we're going to do one by one on each of these. So you'll see now that it comes up as this is display 1. They will all be display 1s because they're running off a single PC. There's my card that's running on it, the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080. It sees this as a generic plug and play monitor, and don't worry about the position. The resolution is most important. You need to be running the same resolution on all 3 screens for this to operate properly. And of course down the bottom we've got projector 1 by 1. So once you have that running on all 3, and they're waiting at the top where it says client and it's not connected, you then go to your server. So all of my 3 projectors here are waiting to go. So if we just turn around here and have a look at our server. Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit hard to see. I'll try and turn this monitor around a little bit so you might get a better view. So I've started up the server application on the master PC, and we are presented with a dialog box which says create a new project or load a project file. So I already have a project file done, but in this case we'll just go through the create new project. So if you were starting from scratch, you would hit create new project. Click next. Now in this case we don't have any stacking because the projectors are on one single plane, so we're going to have no stacking. Go to the next screen. Then it comes up with a drop down menu with a range of different screen setups. So ours is a cylinder, single curved. So we select that. And we are also going to map on the projector itself rather than using a camera. So we select next, and now what it's going to do is open up let's bring this out to full screen, a virtual display of the current available displays, as in the clients which are running in the background. So from within this virtual display, if we do a right button click and we go 1 to 10 projectors, so we have 3 projectors times 1, and then select your resolution. Well, we're running full high def projectors here, so uh, 1920 by 1080 landscape, HD 1080 landscape, 1920 by 1080. So go OK, and now you'll see we've got 3 screens available. Nothing's happened here yet, but this is where we're at. So this is representative of what you will end up here. So from here you can see that that's now split into 3. We now need to connect each of those computers and projectors. So within the first section there, do a right button click, we do a double click in that, and it'll bring up the available projectors. So my projectors are Huey, Dewey and Louie. The middle one is Big Huey. Dewey is on my right, Louie's on my left. So number 1 will actually be Louie, which is the center one there. So select that center one, then in the right box select projector and then go OK. And now the far right projector is actually connected. If I select, double click on the middle one and then go Big Huey, projector 1 and OK, my second screen is now connected. And if I go to the third one, double click on it and go Dewey, excuse me, projector Okay, all of my screens now are connected, and I'll just show that to you. Up on the screens you will see each of them are connected, and it'll say on it projector 1, projector 2 and projector 3. Okay, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, so try and keep up. What we've got now, we've got all the projectors connected to our master here, and within our master we have a whole section of tools on the right hand side. So ignoring the top one because it's just for logging, we'll go through these quickly. The first one is for settings, and within that little settings folder you'll notice that there is a whole bunch of drop down menus. Projectors is obviously for setting up your projectors. Screen and views, and that's how you set up your screens, as in 1, 2, 3. So it'll be view 1, view 2, view 3. Now obviously all that stuff is in the manual, so you'll have to read that. The edge blend, I would suggest that you might leave that till the end. Display, again, just shows you your final displays. You can use patterns if you like within that pattern section. You can manufacture a pattern or anything like that. Advanced is really for more advanced users if you want to use specific settings, and plugins are if you're using cameras and stuff like that. So if we go down to the next one, this is a very important section right here. This actually gives us our frustrums. Now, a very important section here because P3D V4, and has been since V3.3, relies on what it calls view groups. Or, sorry, you can use what it calls view groups. And before, when we had projection files, we had to output the files, take the information from there, put it into a view from within the config files. It was a lot of mucking around. So Fly-ELise and P3D have made it very easy for us. So what we do now is we output a file which is called a Calib file, which is a obviously program calibration file. From within this program, we use that for our immersive display. It gives the parameters to the immersive display, and then it also outputs a file, an FXML file called view groups, and I'll show you what you do with that very shortly. But the actual view groups file goes into P3D directly, and then once you open up your P3D, you select that file. A little bit of mucking around setting that up, but once you set it up, then what will happen is there's no mucking around with any of your views or anything. It'll automatically set them up exactly as per this program. So in order for that to all operate, and from within this program, very important step here is that little button there which says use asymmetric frustrums. You need to select that. The next important part you need to do is come across here to this calculate button. When you drop that calculate button down, you'll see that you can do it via a single projector or all projectors. Well, in this case, because I've got 3 projectors, you need to select all. And you can see there, this is a pretty fast little computer, it did a calculation and has worked out my frustrums. Now, according to the parameters that I've set in, here is my frustrum setup, my asymmetric frustrum setup. So having done that, you only need to do it the once within the program. You can now close that little window, go back to your perfectly aligned screens, and I'll just show you what this perfectly aligned screen looks like after a lot of work, of course. So here's the screen grid, and you can see that it is perfectly aligned. Don't worry about the blending. The blending is rough as guts. You can see that right where the 2 spots are where it blends. But where it comes into 7, 8 and 9, you'll see that it's perfectly blended there. And on the other side, 13, 14 and 15, it's nicely blended. And that's what you're looking for. Now the other thing I was going to mention is when you are working within your screen here and you want to change a particular screen nodule, this button here, the Views button, is the one you'll use to change which screen you're going to be working on, to adjust. So if we select that and drop it down, you'll see that in my case we'll have View 1, View 2 and View 3. So we'll just select View 3, View 3 and select it. And then on the right hand side you'll see a projected image of what is actually on the screen. You'll see at the top there's a purple line. If we were to move that line down, you can see as we select the down arrow on your keyboard, that purple line changes. And what we're doing there is we're selecting the particular spot on the screen. You can see the little green dot there now. When that green dot's moving because I'm scooting across the board with my keyboard. I'll make it a little bit more visible here. So we're on between 18 and 19 and the third one up. So if we go between 18 and 19 and look at the third dot up, so that'll be 1, 2 and 3. There's our little dot. So we would be manipulating that dot if we were changing it on the screen. Now just to give you an example of that, I will move this across a bit. So very hard for me to do that because I need two hands. So what I'll do is I'll just put this in the cradle at the moment. Make sure that you can see. Okay, now that particular dot, I'll just show you one at the top because it's easier to put back. So I've selected the very top between 18 and 19. And what I'm going to do is move that dot physically with my keyboard, move it down and across to the left hand side, so that when we have a look up at our screen, we can see between 18 and 19 that particular spot has now been moved. So that's how you do your adjustments from within the Calibration Pro itself. So I'm going to come back now, I'm going to rectify that, put it back where it was supposed to be. So it's just a matter of grabbing it and dragging it over and dragging it back up to the right spot. There is a keyboard shortcut. It's Control and the keys. So you can use that if you like, very handy. It's very precise and it's what I use. So, next scenario, we have a finished blend. Sorry, we have a finished merge. What do we do next? We've already gone into this section here with the projector and set that up with our frustrums. So what we do now is we'll do a calculate. If we have a look on this little button here, it's got calculate. That button there does our calculations for us. We want to first of all do a single virtual camera. You'll see that the program is doing all the calculation from within itself. Once it's happy, it'll go OK. And if you have a look in the background, it's done a perfect merge of the screen. So you can see how it's merged all the way around 360 degrees, or sorry, in this case, 200 degrees. Once you've done a single, you need to go back to that button again, the calculate button, and do a multiple virtual camera. It'll go through and it'll do exactly the same thing again. Now instead of instead of the other display, it's actually done a finished product with a grid. Now this one is especially good because within this grid you'll see that it has got a red line right through the middle. Very, very important, so that we can come into the cockpit and make sure that red line is spot on down the middle of the cockpit, which you can see it is. It's dead set in the middle. So if we look either side, and see that's roughly on the 40 mark there, and if we have a look here, oh, if I get back in the center again, 40 is right there. The lines are pretty straight all the way across, so visually we've got a very, very good alignment, and that's what we're aiming for. So we've done our outputs, our two outputs, which is all we need. There is a third section there called black offset, but I don't need that, so I don't need to worry about that. Now the next most important thing is the output of the files, what type of files we're using. So let's go in there. You can see the little button there which says export. We're going to export our finished product. Brings up this dialog box. So you can see for a single camera you would use the single frustum, but in our case we want the multi because that's the 3D file that we'll be using in P3D V3 via Immersive Display. So you select that multi frustum. Now if you have a look underneath, there's a whole bunch of files within a box, and they're called FSX/P3D V1, which is in brackets a .flt file, a flight file. Then underneath that there's a P3D V2/V3, which has become an FXML file. And then if you have a look under that, there's a prepared 3D V3.3 plus. Now this is the one I was talking about with the view groups. So you'll see it's called viewgroup.xml. That's our file which has already been prepared for us. All we need to do is output that file, then grab that file and we'll put it in P3D. So that's exactly what you want to do. Coming down here, when you're ready, you've got this section all sorted out here. You need to select where you're going to save it to. Exactly the same as all other Windows-based stuff. You can either select the button here and it'll do a browse, and you can select your folder that you want to save them to. Make sure you select a folder that's got a bit of space in it because they are moderately large files. So that's the export folder, and you will end up with, where it says export the file name, it normally comes up with a data data prefix there. I normally just take that off. You don't need that rubbish, so just just delete that out and then hit the OK button. Once you've done that, it will manufacture all of those files, and they will be within that folder. So what we'll do now is we'll go out. I'll show you my finished folder with all of those files in it.